In the last video, we talked about how having a changing magnetic field line in the presence of a coil of wire is essential in order to get electrons to move. We talked about how if we could get a magnet to move in the presence of a coil of wire, we could influence the electrons to move in a push-pull type fashion. Now we're going to, at the end of that video, you were asked to think about how your electricity generation source might involve or use the idea of having that magnet move on a regular basis in the presence of a coil of wire. We're going to talk about what that might look like. Um, there's a good chance that your fuel source uses a generator. You've probably in your research also seen the word turbine, and we're just going to clarify that a little bit. There's a really good chance that if you envision this system that's on this screen, this system somehow applies to your fuel source. And if you have questions on this, you can let me know and I'll help you and walk you through how this most likely works for your fuel source. You see that the magnet here, like previously, has magnetic field lines, and those magnetic field lines have the ability to interact with our electrons. Previously, we had brought the magnet through the coil of wires. In a realistic situation, this becomes hard to do, to pass it back and forth on a regular basis. However, if we can somehow create rotation of some sort, and rotation becomes more likely, more possible, more feasible, you can hopefully, even if wind isn't your energy source, you can think about how if we could put a windmill up and attach this magnet to the propeller on a shaft, we could cause rotation. Most of you are going to have some source of rotation, and rotation becomes necessary in the process of electricity generation. The rotation becomes necessary because rotation allows for us to create a changing magnetic field. This combination of a rotating magnet in the presence of an electrical wire is going to be called a turbine. So you've probably seen the term turbine in your research. A turbine simply means that you have both of those entities, a wire and a magnet, together in one location. So your turbine generally requires spin. The reason that that spin is so necessary is because if we look here at the magnetic field lines, we notice that these magnetic field lines are constantly changing. They're changing because the magnet is spinning. If the magnet were to be no longer spinning, then the magnetic field stops changing. If the magnetic field stops changing, then the electrons stop being influenced. So, as long as we can have the ability to have rotation, rotation causes rotation of a magnet causes changing magnetic field lines. Changing magnetic field lines have a push pull on the electrons, an attractive and repulsive force. So at certain points, these electrons are being attracted to the magnet, repelled, attracted, repelled, attracted, repelled, attracted, repelled. And that action creates a push pull within the wire, and that push pull means that the light bulb itself is always being fueled, if you would, by moving electrons. Your task is to figure out how your fuel source is going to cause this rotation, and I'm looking for you to explain within your presentation that your generator, it's not enough to say that you have a generator. You need to talk about how your generator creates changing magnetic field and explain how that changing magnetic field influences or moves electrons.